Namaste, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this live webcast from Jaipur Dialogues. Today, we have a very special edition for you. Now, I hope everyone's settling down. Please settle down. Let me tell you Namaste, everyone. Hello, everyone. How to go through this live webcast because I am going to speak for about 15-20 minutes, maybe a little more, because I am going to explain to you everything on Google Maps and on one more map which I will use. Why it is important is because everybody has been telling you about Ladakh, what is happening in Ladakh, what are the points of disputes in Ladakh, what China is doing, where Chinese forces have come in, where Indian forces are taking them on, what happened in 1962. All these things cannot be explained to you if you just read those newspaper reports, and most of the newspaper reports are just those bland write-ups. And you have some maps given, except for some really good analysts who give you some maps from time to time. But even those maps are limited because those are not dynamic maps. So I'm going to explain to you everything on the map proper. What we are going to do is that as soon as a question comes to your mind, please use your super chat. But I will not take it up immediately. I will take up those questions only at the end. And after I've finished explaining the things to you, then I will start taking up the questions. So are you all ready? Ready to go? If you're ready to go, then I'm ready to go. Okay. So here it is. Now, a bit of history of Ladakh. Ladakh has a very long history, and I am not going to go into that history from the beginning of the first millennium. I will start from the history that starts from the time of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, because under Maharaja Ranjit Singh, he had what is called a vassal in the name of Maharaja Gulab Singh, who used to rule Jammu, and he had accepted the suzerainty of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. And one of his generals, General Zorawar Singh, was the one who conquered Ladakh. He even conquered a large part of Tibet. But later on, he suffered a setback. And finally, the boundaries of Ladakh, as you see, were settled. And settled in a way that there was never any delimitation. There was only a broad understanding, because China at that time was having its own problems. China lost control of what is known as Xinjiang and Tibet, or what the Chinese called Xinjiang, sorry for my Chinese pronunciation, and Xinjiang, again, sorry for my Chinese pronunciation. So in 1911, the older Chinese dynasty collapsed and the Republic of China came into being. And this Republic of China lost control of large parts of what was the dynastic China at that time. And Tibet went out of control, Xinjiang went out of control. And after the communist revolution, the communist government started laying claims on parts that it considered historically under the control, either under the suzerainty or direct sovereignty of China. And that is also the time, along with the communist doctrine, which is very much territorial in one way, and added to it the cultural hegemony that the Chinese culture always exercised, the Middle Kingdom complex, which I have explained to you in an earlier video. So the Middle Kingdom complex, as well as the communist doctrine, together they created havoc for all their neighbors. So what happened with the Dogra kingdom was that the Dogra kingdom, of course, it was a quasi British kingdom as well, because British residents always used to be stationed in the headquarters of the Dogra kingdom. There was a British officer called Johnson, who was the first person to attempt a boundary line with China. That is called the Johnson line. So I am going to show you the Johnson line that was proposed first in 1865. And 1865 is 19 years after Maharaja Gulab Singh won control of this, or rather bought the Kashmir Valley from the British for rupees 45 lakhs. And the boundary at that time was something like this. I will also explain to you the successive lines that were proposed. None of them were ever accepted except the McMahon line in the northeast. Today we are not going to talk about the northeast. Of course, the northeast references will come when we talk about the 1962 war. But today I am going to confine myself to the Ladakh area. If there is a demand from you and you find that this particular talk is useful, then maybe we can go later on to the northeast also when we discuss the 1962 war or the areas of contention in the northeast, but not today. So today we start with the various claim lines. I am going to share this particular graphic with you. These are the various claim lines that have existed in Ladakh from time to time. The first claim line is this. I am going to draw this cursor over this. This is the Karakoram Pass. And here it goes through the Kun Lun mountains. From Karakoram Pass, this is the Karakoram range, and this is the Kun Lun range. Now, the British officer Johnson drew this over the Kun Lun range here, like this, and here it comes and meets somewhere near the Spanger. So you must have heard about that Spanger Gap over here. This is Chushul, and this is the Spanger Gap, where the Indian and Chinese headquarters for this lower Ladakh are situated. And this is where the Moldo, you might have heard. This is the place Moldo, where the last Lieutenant General, or rather the Corps Commander level talks took place. This is the Angong So. So this is the Johnson line I just traced for you. Now, after that, what happened was that when this delimitation was sent to the British consulate in Kashgar. Kashgar is in Xinjiang. You might have heard about it. And it was then sent to the Chinese government. The Chinese government did not accept it. And the British government actually sacked this particular officer, who happened to be a surveyor also. After he was sacked, then the second attempt was made again in 1899. And in 1899, they formed what is called the McArtney-McDonald Line. Where is the McArtney-McDonald Line? Is this green line that you see? This is the McArtney-McDonald Line. It leaves out this part of the Johnson line. And this line was actually accepted by the Chinese right till 1959. And it was after 1959 that they started enhancing their claims. You must remember this about the Chinese. The Chinese, they always like to keep things vague, and they always try to keep enhancing their claims that they have done with all their neighbors. And with a lot of their neighbors, they have delimited and demarcated their boundaries. You must understand the difference between these two terms. Delimitation is limitation of the boundary on the map, and demarcation is on the ground. Then there was something else. You can see this. I have shown you the 1865 line, that is this. The McArtney-McDonald line is this. There was also a foreign office line drawn by the British government in India that was even further west than the McCartney-McDonald line. That was this. But then McCartney-McDonald line came later. That is this green line. This green line, as I told you, was accepted by the Chinese till 1959. After which all the problems began. Then in 1959, the Chinese, because also there was no positioning of troops in this area, the Chinese positioned their troops along this line. See this line here. This place is called Haji Langar. These are the places where the Indian patrols used to go till 1958. All these points marked in red and a combination of red and yellow. This is where they used to go. This Haji Langar is the place where the river Karakos, this is the what is called the Karakoram range. There is another range called Ladakh range. So you have Ladakh range, you have Karakoram range, and then you have the Kun Lun range. The Karakoram range forms a watershed. All the waters going east of the Karakoram actually goes into the Tarim Basin. The major river here is called the Karakos River. The Karakos River originates somewhere here near Sumdo and goes around, and ultimately from this place, this what is called Haji Langar, it takes a sharp westward turn, and after traveling for some time, then it goes up and goes into the Tarim Basin. We will show you Tarim Basin also when we come to the Google Maps. Now, I think you must have got a hang of what I'm trying to say. Then what happened in 1962? 1962, the Chinese, they made another claim, and this claim is along this line that you see. And in the 1962 war, the Chinese achieved this claim line. And this claim line is where the LAC stands, and even within the LAC, there are what are called differing perceptions. Okay, so this is the first map that I wanted to show you. Now that you have seen this first map, I will go to the second map, which will show you the points where the present dispute is centered. The present dispute is centered mainly around 3 points. Those 3 points are shown here in this particular Google map that I'm going to show you. In this Google map, what you need to understand is that this red line that you see, this red line is the line that is called LAC. So this line is the LAC, and just a minute, I'm having some trouble here. Yes. So, okay, yeah, got it right. This line is the LAC. This is the area where there are some differences of perception, but this is not the area where the present dispute is. You can see this closely. This area is the Demchok area. The Demchok area, okay. This is the Demchok area, but this is not the problem. This area, this yellow line that you see, there is no difference of perception at all. Now, here is where the game begins. This is the Pangong So area. Okay, this whole lake is Pangong So. Okay, from here, from this point, please follow the cursor. From this point to this point, it is about 42 kilometers. Then from this point to this point is about 24 kilometers. And from this point to this point, which is undisputably within China, is about 140 kilometers or so. So this entire lake is almost 200 kilometers long. And this yellow line that you see, here it comes and passes close to the bank of this lake. This is the G219. G219 is the Xinjiang Tibet Road, which is so crucial for the strategic objectives of China. So this is the first point of dispute. I will come to it last. Now we go to the 2 points which have apparently been resolved. Which are these 2 points which have apparently been resolved? These are the Galwan and the Galwan River Valley is also called Galwan River Valley, and yeah, okay. So here we are. We go to Galwan. Here is Galwan. You see this Galwan? I will zoom it in. I'm going to zoom it in. I'm going to zoom it in. Just follow me on this. This is okay. You see this? Now, let me explain to you a little bit of geography here. That is very important. You see this river? This river is the Shyok River. This river is the Shyok River. Over here, it forms a V. At this point, it forms a V, and then it goes up like this. It goes up here. Here is the Nubra Valley. The Nubra River comes and meets this river, and then this Shyok River goes into the occupied area of Gilgit Baltistan, which is under the occupation of Pakistan. So this Shyok River is the main artery around which all the action is based in this, what is called the subsector north, SSN. You would have come across this term, the SSN. This is the subsector north. Now what has happened here is that India constructed a road here, and that road began somewhere here. Just a minute here. This is a place called Tangse. I've been to this place. And this is the northern end of the Pangong Lake, the Pangong Lake, Pangong So it is called. This small yellow strip that you see is the small yellow line. This is the road from Tangse to Pangong So. This actually is coming from what is called Changla. Changla is the second highest pass after Khardungla. So this comes from Changla. Over here, this is coming from Changla. Changla is almost 4,500 meters high. Then over here, this takes a sharp upward turn here. This one goes to Pangongso, this road via Tangse. And in Tangse, this road branches off into two. This road goes directly to Chushul, and this road goes to Pangongso. And from Pangongso, you can go on the southern bank of the lake, and then you can go to Chushul through the gap that is called the Spanger Gap, which I mentioned. Now, this is Durbuk. Okay, why Durbuk is important is this is the DSO road. What is that DSO road? Is the Durbuk Shok DBO. DBO is Daulak Beg Oldie. This is the road that is at the heart of all the difficulties with China, because China was sitting comfortable. They thought that the Indians had a very inaccessible part of Ladakh to contend with, and they did not have a proper road, they did not have proper access, and therefore they could do whatever they felt like. And now this road has been constructed. This from Shok, you see this little line, this bridge over the river Shok, and you can see this written here. It is called SSN Road. So this SSN Road is going hugging the Shok River on its right bank. As you see, it looks on the left, but actually the right bank. And on the right bank, it goes up. It goes up like this, and this is the river Changchenmo. I will come to river Changchenmo also, because Changchenmo is where the action on the hot spring sector or the Gorga post is located. And then we come to the Galwan River. This is the Galwan River, and this is where the face-off is, and this is where the Chinese have retreated. So, of course, our Chief of Army Staff called it disengagement, but this is the Galwan River from the main road here. Bridge has been constructed on this side of Galwan River on the right bank, and the Indian Army has been patrolling this area. What the Chinese did was that they used to stay back on this side, but they came right up till this point. When they came right up till this point, then the Indian troops also crossed the river and faced them here at this point. I've written this face-off. This face-off happened here. Chinese came this side, Indians came this side. But now they have gone back. Indians have a camp here about 1 kilometer from this place. And the Chinese have come back to this place. They have vacated the heights, as I am told. And the face-off here has been resolved. So this is the Galwa sector where the face-off has been resolved, as is being claimed by both the sides. Now the second hot area is what is called the Gogra Post or the hot spring sector. So where is this hot spring sector? The hot spring sector is over here. Let me just plan it for you. This is the heliport, as you say. It's written heliport here, over here. This is the Changchenmo Road, the Changchenmo River, which I showed you there. And this is the Gogra Post. This is the heliport. And there's also a road going to this place, connecting to that same road which I showed you earlier, that road from Tangse and from the northern reaches of the Pangongso. So over here, the Chinese came right up till this place, and they kind of blocked the patrols to this Konka La, the Konka Pass. But now it seems that this has also been resolved. So these two have been resolved. The third point of contention remains, and that is Pangongso. What is the situation in Pangongso? I will explain it to you. In Pangongso, what has happened is, let me get the map right first. Okay, now we have got Pangong. So here, and okay. Apparently, what is happening in Pangong So is that these are very high ridges, and they're very high ridges going into the lake, and they are called fingers by the generally agreed nomenclature or the popular nomenclature over there. They're called fingers. This is the area called finger 4. In this finger 4, the Indians have a road right up till this point. They had rather a road right up till this point. What they started doing was they started building a road till here and established a camp here. Now the Chinese objected to this. Indians apparently ignored them because their claim on finger 4 was undisputed. Between finger 4 and what is called finger 8 was a gray area where both the armies had been acknowledged. This is finger 4, then you see ridges 5, 6, then 7, and this is 8. And over here is an area called that mountaintop called Sirijap, which was a scene of action during 1962 war in which Indians lost and Chinese claimed that area. This is the area where there's still a lot of dispute. From finger 4 to finger 8, the Indians have been patrolling regularly, but in this area of finger 5, Chinese have been stopping these patrols for some time. Because of that, the Indians started going around and started climbing the ridges and started coming at the back of this little camp which had been set up. Chinese have built a road here, Indians are objecting, and all the fisticuffs and all the melee that you see happens in this area between finger 4 and finger 5. This is the area where all that melee takes place. Because finger 4 is, as you can see, I'll show you here. Finger 4 is a very high top, and it is not possible for any roads or any big tracks to be built here. There is only you can see very close here, is only a foot track over here. Whereas all across this area, you can have a road. So the Chinese had access till here. The Chinese have been claiming that they can go beyond finger 4. Of course, there's no way they can go beyond finger 4, but they've been scuffles and melees in this area. This is the area of contention. So I suppose you've got a good overview of what is happening. The claims and counterclaims will stand, but I have given you a full overview of what the geography of the area where all the contention is taking place is like, and what else is happening. Now I am going to take questions from you. So if you have any questions and anybody has fired any, I do not see any super chat. So let me see what kind of questions I can answer. Somebody has asked that, sir, it's a rare scenario that the Chinese have opened many fronts with us and even raised the border issue. It is in Nikhil Mudraganam. Hello, Nikhil, how are you? And in issue with Sikkim, which is already a well-settled issue. Yes, Sikkim was a well-settled issue. Sikkim was settled when India recognized Tibet during Atalji's regime, and Chinese recognized Sikkim, and all the old settled border with Sikkim was recognized by the Chinese. That is how the Sikkim issue had been settled. But now what it seems is that they are trying to reopen the issue, and they do that. That is a usual Chinese strategy. If you do not understand it, then we are at fault. Because we must understand that they follow the Sun Tzu doctrine, The Sun Tzu doctrine is such that it only asserts the Chinese supremacy. Chinese are not supposed to follow the international rule-based order. That is what is happening in South China Sea also. So I am not surprised at what they are doing. Somebody is asking, can we push them back to finger 8? Well, I think that is something for a military man to answer, whether we can push them back to finger 8, whether we have the resources to push them back to finger 8. But if we try and push them back forcibly, then a different kind of issue arises. And all the border agreements and others which we have with them, that that envisages peaceful resolution of these border conflicts. Then somebody is asking Ajay Parihar, what intentions China has behind these conflicts. China is an expansionist and imperialist regime, a communist imperialist regime, though in their doctrines they denounce imperialism, but throughout the existence of the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, all their designs have been expansionist, imperialist, and mercantilist. So that is what, and you add to that the Confucius Middle Kingdom doctrine, it becomes a very heady cocktail. Can India occupy a similar non-settled place? I mean, that was the contention, I think, some time back when India has the advantage in Chumar, and India was trying to build some infrastructure in Chumar, and that agitated the Chinese a lot. So that has also happened in the past. What is the possibility of India getting back the Aksai Chin territory from the Chinese? Well, that's a very long shot. I would not hazard a guess. Very sorry, I cannot hazard a guess. China is very well fortified in that area. We made initial mistakes in the 1950s, not just one mistake, but a series of mistakes. And those mistakes have landed us in this soup today, where we have neither a settled border, nor do we have a settled strategic advantage. And China has all this strategic advantage because it has been able to link up Tibet with Xinjiang. Not only that, if you remember, somebody is asking, is this a patriotic Indian? Well, please give your name. I would not be answering what is called anonymous people. Sudeep Kumar, why not India place permanent outpost by retired army fellows? I mean, that's not a place. I don't think you've gone there. Just try and go and breathe in that climate. I have been there, and it's extremely difficult even to breathe at those heights. So, do you think Vajpayee was wrong to recognize Sikkim as Tibet? I see. These are not the things that can be viewed in black and white. International diplomacy is not black and white. You have to take so many factors into account. Why are people so scared of the PLA? Nobody is scared of PLA. Who is scared of the PLA? Certainly not the Indian Army. They're not scared of the PLA. But you can't go to war for every little skirmish. The Chinese have their own strategic objectives. If you remember what Mao Zedong said that Tibet is the palm with 5 fingers. And which are those 5 fingers? He said those 5 fingers are, those 5 fingers are Ladakh and Sikkim, South Tibet, Arunachal, they call it South Tibet. And also refer to 2 more areas in that area. That these are the, and Nepal, yes, we even mentioned Nepal as one of those 5 fingers. So Nepal, Sikkim, Bhutan, 5 fingers, these. South Tibet, what the Chinese called South Tibet, our Arunachal Pradesh. We call Arunachal Pradesh, the Chinese call them South Tibet. So South Tibet, Bhutan, Sikkim, Nepal, and Ladakh. So these are the 5 fingers of our palm, which is Tibet. So you can imagine what they are planning. They're not just planning that, they're even planning, in fact, It has been found out that they even have plans to build a road from Tibet to Gilgit Baltistan. Can you imagine? That is the kind of plans they have. But they are well thwarted. They are well thwarted. They are well thwarted. What is the, Ravindra Singh is asking, what is the nerve point of China that we can take advantage of? Economy, obviously. We have a lot of leverage over China as far as the economy is concerned. They have a 60, $70 billion surplus trade with us. And $60, $70 billion trade is very important. So it may be a very small percentage of Chinese overall trade, but now then the trade is threatened from all over the Western Europe and all over the United States. That $60, $70 billion is very important. That is a strong leverage that India has. And there's also a line of thinking that Chinese have reacted in this manner only because India has started attracting some of the investments from China to itself and made movements towards that, and has also started regulating Chinese investments into India with a heavy hand. So that is worrying China in some way. But of course, I do not think that the Chinese yet have a wherewithal to take on so many people, so many countries. They are already having problems with Japan, with Taiwan, with the countries around the South China Sea, and also opened the front with India. They can't do that. They just don't have the wherewithal to sustain that. So we do expect an early resolution. Thank you very much for watching this particular live telecast. I hope you enjoyed it. And if we get favorable comments and requests for more shows like this, then we would be happy to go for more shows. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Namaskar.